This video is in response to David Sosa's live questions on Facebook regarding how we as a Lukumi community are reacting or should react to changes, be it through interaction with the Yoruba of Nigeria, their practices with candomblé. And it's actually a question I've not only thought about a lot, I've spoken about a lot, I've opined on it online and in person a lot. So it's a topic I really like. I hope to keep it short for you. So the first thing we have to understand is that it's a reality, right? The world is small, and plane ticket to Nigeria, to Brazil, to Trinidad, Tobago is a lot easier than it used to be. And so, first thing we have to accept is the reality that these interactions are going to continue. That, and then we have to come to a consensus as are the people of Europe, Nigeria, and Brazil, are they our brothers and sisters, or are they other? I know in the 80s, they were considered other. People who were Candomblé initiates had to be reinitiated in Lukumi if they wanted to participate in our rituals. I've noticed we've already decided that many people will be a lot more lenient. I remember I was letting people who were Yoruba initiated in before it was very popular, and I got a little bit of criticism over it, even from Oriate. And everybody, every leader of his house has the right to make that decision, but that's how I proceed. Regarding the orishas and practices actually seeping in, this is how I see it. A religion has two parts. It's your faith, and then it's also tradition. There is the faith portion is our interaction with God, or the orishas, or Lukumi, and that is first of all very personal, but it is within the context of a larger belief system. And then the other part the of religion is the communal, the shared ritual, the shared identity, and that's where it gets tricky. It's not a matter. Anybody who simplifies changes in ritual as to whether the orisha um, accepts it, yes or no, whether it works for me, yes or no, that's fine if you're only doing it for yourself. But once you're insisting a communal acceptance of your practice, once you want to impose, once you want to start propagating that practice that wasn't part of it to begin with, now you have to consider the wider community. Orisha has always been a communal religion. It will always be a communal. God forbid it stops becoming a communal faith. Okay, and so you to some extent there are some you have to be willing to accept some consequences. That not everybody's going to accept the change not you, David, but anybody listening, as an individual decided to make the leap. An individual decided to make and then impose on a community. It's just not how it works, because what you have and what you've been having for about 20 years now, you have this wild west mentality that everybody's entitled to make edits, right? And it's hard when we pipe on tradition all the time, right? If I make a small edit, you make a small edit, and everybody makes, not sometimes these aren't small edits, these are big edits, and if we're all entitled, then the result is going to be over time something unrecognizable and indistinguishable from where we started, and in many ways it already is. Um, to your specific question on inlay and other issues that are coming in. So I'm going to add, you added Brazil and Nigeria. I'm going to add the fake orishas that are coming out of Cuba, and I'm going to put them all in context with each other. So as long as I've been in the tradition, people have been doubting some of the orishas that are being given out as Adimu nowadays. Okay, we can go to long list. And so there's people, elders that swear by it. There's some of these, and some people they know, from 40, 50 years ago, no one ever heard of that Orisha. They heard of it as a character in a pataki. They know was an Orisha that existed. It did not mean that the physical object survived in Cuba. And so when you're going to do this stuff, and revive, recreate stuff. First, my suggestion to anybody is be absolutely honest. right? If somebody comes to you, you use the example of Inle, I'm going to use that too. Don't say Inle has always existed and just a few people knew about it and they had the secrets in a notebook and they finally decided. Listen, if that's what they told you. Hey, hey, my phone, but historically, that's probably not accurate. Let's be honest. Hey, listen, I wanted to do it. I didn't like the idea that Inla is relegated to an auto ceremony, right? And I took the chance, and I feel confident about it, and I'm going to continue that tradition. At least say that. Let the people who come after you have the proper information that they need to make a decision themselves, right? Let's not, revise history. And I'll give you an example. I received Ori, the Lukumi Ori, one way, and through all the research, you also mentioned Ori with Willie, and I did the research, and I even reached out to Willie. What do you think? Think of this? You did a lot of the research, and and he basically proved what a lot of people were saying is that the Lukumi, as it's being given now, it doesn't really have a long history in the Lukumi tradition. And so what I did was the people who have come to me to receive Ori in these years, I was painfully honest. Ori happened to be in a Risha that I was very devoted to. And people wanting Uri, I would tell them, I would give them the entire story, all the research, probably more information than they wanted or cared to have. But I was very honest. Who gave me Uri, the history, the controversy, and most people, some people at the beginning, I turned them down straight out. I wasn't going to give it without being sure. Then other people came and they were given the information and they chose not to proceed. And I actually had one person having all the information, having personally already himself traveled to Africa and Brazil many times, having been to Cuba more times than I could even count, even with all the information, decided to proceed with receiving Odi as the way I received it. So in that case, when I gave it to him, I was confident that I had been forthcoming. I had given all full disclosures, and I think that's important. You may disagree with me that I shouldn't have given it at all anyway, but at that point, the recipient was very well informed. Um, so, what would be my suggestion for people who think they want to revive a ritual and bring it into Lukumi when it doesn't exist currently? Um, well, before I even get to that, I'll tell you what I've done. There are some things that I know did not survive in Cuba, and really that's my main focus. If I do reach out to my Yoruba brethren, my Yoruba initiated brethren, it's mostly about the stuff that that I don't have in right. I have about the Lukumi. I have Changon Lukumi, so I'm very happy with that. I still learn about Changon Watala from the Yoruba, very much so, but nothing is going to make me change my actual practice. You come to one of my ceremonies, it is 100% identifiable as Lukumi. I don't like the Frankenstein controls. I don't like the mix and match. I don't like that. So the stuff that I have that's not part of Lukumi, since it's not part of any existing ritual, there's no overlap. It's really separate stuff. It's separate song. It's not, I'm not doing a half Lukumi, half Yoruba ritual when I'm praying to my stuff that I received or my rishas that I received from over there. It's not mix and match. It's that stuff I'm praying to it Yoruba style, the way my Oluos taught me, my teachers taught me, and my Lukumi stays Lukumi. I like keeping it separate. I'm not saying everybody has to keep it separate. Um, to use the Inla example, what would I do? Okay, if I had unlimited amounts of money, time, and resources, this is what I would do. With, for example, Inla, you want to bring the Inla direct ceremony and incorporate it into Lukumi. This is me brainstorming with my hypothesis. First thing I do is I get a group together. Just to throw a number out there, 5 people who already have Inle Yemaya Oropainle, 5 people who have to crown Yemaya, who have to crown Inle, but aren't crowned yet, and you know, anybody who wants to participate in this project. And as a group, I'd come together. We'd come to an agreement. We're gonna take this journey together. We're gonna be a sub community within the community, and we're taking this journey together. And then the first thing, right? Step number one, create establish a reliable contact in either Brazil or Nigeria. Okay, establish the verify credentials. And then step number two, before going and getting this, speak to the Lukumi elders. Not just people in your neighborhood, the actual elders, not just the person who crowned you. Let's talk to the elders. Hey, what would you think? Instead of doing it and then coming back and expecting to be absolutely, you have to respect me, respect my authority, right? Instead of insisting that they acknowledge what you did, why don't you ahead of time, hey, well, if we do this, if we bring this back, are you willing to share? Can I bring this knowledge back? Can we adapt this together? You're going to be the Obas working within this. Or is there going to be a process by which we can incorporate this? If you think, and I don't think this is, if I don't think that, let's say we're going to initiate OT in Lukumi now. We're going to initiate, that's okay. And Lukumi, if it's not as simple as knowing the pattern that gets painted. If anybody thinks it's that simple, then what you're saying is that we have these cookie cutter initiations, and you just swap out one little piece, and you have a whole different Orisha. You have an entire different Achet just by changing the paint pattern. And I didn't learn Orisha that way. Orisha is previous stuff. It's the ritual itself, stuff that happens afterwards, and so just changing a painting pattern doesn't mean you can now initiate a brand new different Orisha. So I wouldn't just learn the pattern. The patterns you could probably learn online or in books because the Yoruba and the Brazilians are a lot more open to photographing stuff. You can probably get that already. That's not the issue. How about the praise literature? How about the songs? How about the patakis, the itam, the stories? How about a little bit more of that? And incorporating that, amplifying the number of pataki stories, the mythology, and I say that in the Greek sense, not in the modern American sense of mythology. Incorporate, bring that. Be the student, become the specialist in OT, become the specialist in it. Bring that back. Ask your Yoruba teacher if it's okay to adopt it into Lukumi, or do they want you to keep it pristine? Don't go over there and get initiated and bastardize what they gave you without their permission, right? That's what is an approach that if I had unlimited resources, how I would do it, right? It would be a conversation with my community. It would not be doing my own thing. Hopefully this was somewhat helpful, and I look forward to more discussion.